In this video, I'm talking about the Great Resignation and your 401k plans. Hey everybody, it's Matthew Jackson here from 401k Maneuver. We provide online professional account management for your 401k with the goal of supercharging its account performance. So stop leaving money on the table each and every year in the form of lost returns. Let us help you. If you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and the links to everything that we mention in this video you can find in the description box below. So let's jump right in. People are quitting their jobs in record numbers, and that means many are leaving 401ks behind with their old employers. The Great Resignation took over the headlines in 2021, and the trend doesn't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon. The latest Department of Labor statistics show more than 4 million people quit their jobs in December of 2021. Additionally, 4.5 million people voluntarily left their positions in November, which is an all-time high, according to the agency responsible for collecting the data. That's 3% of the non-farm workforce, which headlines also proclaimed were at a record level. Interestingly, according to the Harvard Business Review, mid-career 30 to 45-year-olds are driving the Great Resignation, with an average increase in resignation rates of more than 20% between 2020 and 2021. In early January of 2022, ResumeBuilder.com released a report showing 1/4 of workers are now looking for a new job this year. Whether you've recently left your job or you're seriously considering leaving one you're currently at, be sure to pay attention to the 401k plan account you're potentially leaving behind. And while not all employees have a 401k, those who do should be aware of what happens to their 401ks when they're left behind and what options are available to them. Regardless of how much your 401k balance is, it's important for your financial future to decide on what you're going to do with it moving forward. So keep watching to find out what you need to know about leaving behind a 401k plan and what options are available to you. Let's talk about the cost of leaving behind a 401k. We all know it's stressful to leave a job, whether you start a new one right away or not. And chances are, your 401k that's left behind is the least of your worries. And this is totally understandable, especially if you think your previous employer is taking care of your old 401k for you, which they're not. And we'll talk more about that here in a bit. According to a capitalized white paper titled "The True Cost of Forgotten 401k Accounts," by the end of 2020, Americans had accumulated over $6.7 trillion in 401k accounts. Yet as of May 2021, there were an estimated 24.3 million forgotten 401ks holding approximately $1.53 trillion in assets, with another 2.8 million left behind every single year. That's a lot of retirement savings left behind, you guys. According to Capitalize, leaving a 401k with a past employer has the potential to cost an individual almost $700,000 in foregone retirement savings over a lifetime. And while the potential amount you may be missing out on depends on your balance and your fees, do you want to risk missing out on savings you worked so hard to accumulate? Let's talk about 401k plan options when you leave a job. There's a few options for 401ks when you change jobs. Leave the money behind in the former employer's 401k plan. Roll over the 401k savings into an individual retirement account. Roll over the old 401k into a new 401k account if it's permitted by your new employer. And last, cash out your 401k. Before you decide what to do, it's important to know the irreversible and costly 401k rollover mistakes. Make sure that you check out the description box below for some important links regarding costly 401k rollover mistakes. Educating yourself before you do anything is the best way to safeguard your money and hard-earned retirement savings from unnecessary penalties and taxes. Let's take a look at your options in more detail. First, you can do nothing. Just leave it behind. It's a common belief with 401k investors is that if they leave behind a 401k, the past employer is taking care of it for them. Listen, here's the truth. They cannot, because it's your money and your responsibility. Aside from that, there are several disadvantages to doing so. First, your account will remain subject to the old plan rules. Next, you will continue to have limited investment options. Also, you will incur ongoing fees, which could be quite a bit, especially if you're in a high fee plan. Also, you may have overlapping funds that may not suit your risk tolerance. Last, you will have another account to keep up with. Let's pivot for a moment and talk about rolling over your 401k into an IRA. There are some potential advantages to rolling over your old 401k into an individual retirement account, also known as an IRA. You can consolidate more than one 401k account into an IRA. With the right advisor, you have virtually unlimited investment options and more control over your account. Tax withholding is not required if you need a distribution, and you have more control over naming or changing your beneficiaries. If you have less than a few $100,000 saved in your old 401k, federal regulations allow your old employer to mail you a check. But be careful, as getting a check in the mail can trigger federal and state taxes, and if you're under 59 and a half, an automatic 10% early withdrawal penalty. You can avoid taxes and penalties if you roll over the funds into your new 401k within the 60-day period. This is what's referred to as an indirect rollover. It's important to note that with an indirect rollover, you'll need to come up with an extra 20% for the tax withholding, and you'll be able to recover the withheld taxes when you file your tax return. So be sure to check out our guide in the description box below on the 5 irreversible and costly rollover mistakes that you need to avoid. Let's talk about rolling over your old 401k into a new 401k. It is an option if it is permitted by your new employer. Typically, if you have at least $5,000 saved in your old 401k, most companies allow you to roll it over. And as I mentioned before, if you have a lower amount saved in your old 401k, the company may mail you a check. And if this happens, you have 60 days to roll it over into your new 401k or pay the penalties and the taxes. Now let's talk about cashing out your 401k. If the purpose of your 401k is to save money for retirement, we highly advise against cashing out old 401ks because you may disrupt your retirement by taking it out early, and it can be costly. If you cash out and you're under 59 and a half, you will have to pay a 10% penalty on top of the taxes. And the IRS generally requires an automatic withholding of 20% of your 401k for an early withdrawal for taxes. If you're over 55, there is an over 55 rule you should be aware of. And this rule states that if you are 55 or over in the calendar year you leave your job, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from that employer's 401k plan. You will still have to pay taxes on the withdrawal, but you can avoid paying penalties. And with your 401k, you got a tax break for saving the money in the first place because all contributions are pre-tax. When you cash out of your 401k early, all that money you put in and the gains that you made now becomes taxable as ordinary income. Sure, you may get back some of that money on your next tax return, but between the penalty and the tax withholding, you can expect to say goodbye to a good chunk of your 401k savings. Here's the good news. You have 60 days should you change your mind and you want to indirectly roll over your 401k savings. However, you would have to have the money to put the tax withholding back in as well, and then wait for your tax refund the following year to get that additional money back. So be sure to check the description box below and check out our complimentary guide, the 5 irreversible and costly rollover mistakes. Let's end this vlog by talking about why it's important to get help. Everyone's situation is unique, And speaking with someone who can navigate the rollover process helps you make the best decision possible for your financial future. If you have questions about rolling over your 401k, book a complimentary 15-minute strategy session with one of our 401k advisors today.